In this video, we're going to learn how to make things move in After Effects. So you can go ahead and open the project file that you can download in the description below. Look for this text that says not animated. We're going to double click on that. That'll open up what's called a composition. Within this composition, we have a number of layers. Each layer has a letter from this logo. So what we can do is select all these layers. I just clicked on the bottom one, and then I held Shift and clicked on the top one. Now let's go ahead and move your cursor. I'll start, doesn't really matter because you can adjust it later, but I just don't want it to be at the very beginning. Now you're going to hit this little drop down. If you notice on the left of your layer, there's this little arrow. You can click that. And then we're going to look for the word transform and click that arrow down as well. Okay, now these four options, position, scale, rotation, and opacity, will probably be 90% of what you need to know in After Effects. There's plenty more that you can learn, but if you get a hold of just these four things, you can do an awful lot with After Effects. So let's go ahead and click on this little stopwatch. And what that just did is it put down a little marker on all of our layers that we had selected. Now this marker tells After Effects where these layers are supposed to be at what point in time. So right now you can see I'm maybe about like 4 seconds-ish. And at 4 seconds, we want all the layers to be here. But scroll back a little bit, maybe to 1 second or 2 seconds. And we can drag all those layers down. Now you'll notice that another marker got placed. This marker is called a keyframe. And essentially, we're saying, hey, at this point in time, at approximately 1 or 2 seconds, be at this location, and a few seconds later, be at that location. So After Effects just fills in the gaps and makes it move. If we hit the spacebar to play, we'll see that it's very slow, but it does move. So we can make it faster by, let's say we could drag this keyframe in, and that'll be faster. But we actually want to select all of them and have a lot of control over them. So to be able to access all these layers, keyframes, which I can't do right now, I can just, again, select all my layers. So click the top one, hold Shift, click the bottom one with G. Now you don't want to click the BG because that layer is locked and you can't actually select locked layers. Okay, so now that we have all these letters selected, we can hit U. And hitting U on the keyboard just uncovers all the keyframes that are on that layer. This is a really useful keyboard shortcut. Sometimes you'll have to hit U twice to uncover all your layers. Let's see here. So just cycling through U will show various levels of information. Okay, so there we go. So there's our animation so far. But I could add to it by, let's say at the end here, I want it to end like it is, but I actually in the middle want it to overshoot a little bit and go past where it needs to. So let me show you what I mean. Let's go past our final keyframe on the timeline. Make sure that we have all our layers selected and click this little button. If you hover over it, you'll notice it says add or remove keyframe at current time. We don't want to hit the stopwatch this time because it's highlighted, and that means if we hit that stopwatch, it'll actually remove all the keyframes on that layer. So we use it the first time to place the first keyframe, but after that we can go ahead and use this little keyframe icon to place future keyframes. You can also just move the layers, and if there's already a keyframe somewhere else, it'll by default place a new keyframe. The reason for this is because earlier when we placed the keyframe we said, hey, this is where you need to be, and later on we're moving it and saying, actually this is where you need to be. And After Effects it needs to reconcile both those things, so it places keyframes on both places and makes them both true. Okay, but I don't actually want to move it because I like where it is, so I'll just click this button and it'll place a keyframe and save that place in time. Now I'll go back to the middle keyframe. Now I want to make sure that my cursor is exactly on top of it. So to do that, I can hold Shift and that'll help me snap to the keyframes. Also, if you're having difficulties with the timing and placing of keyframes, you can zoom in and out and sort of zoom in and out of the time to give you a better control over those. Okay, so now that we're on top of this keyframe here, let's just go ahead and go to the top one. So scroll to the top, click, highlight all of these middle keyframes. Okay, now I'm going to use the arrow keys on my keyboard, holding Shift to move up. You don't actually have to hold Shift, but if you don't, it'll just take a lot longer to get where you need to go. Holding Shift amplifies the amount that your arrow keys move the layers. Okay, so now our layer has a little bit of an overshoot. So it still looks pretty cheap, but don't worry, we'll get there. I'm also going to add a rotation. So let's go back to the beginning keyframe, hold Shift to let it snap. Okay, and you'll probably have to toggle these arrows back up, toggle them down. You might have to toggle the transform down again, and we see rotation, so that's what we want. So I'll go ahead and place rotation keyframe at the beginning, and let's go to the middle and place another rotation keyframe by clicking this little keyframe icon here. Okay, so it doesn't rotate yet because we haven't added or subtracted any rotation value, but if we go back to the first keyframe, we can click and drag to rotate these. You can also click inside of here and type, so I'll type -90, and that'll rotate -90 degrees. Okay, so there we go. So we have some rotation. Looks like I have an issue with my G. Let's go figure out what's going on there. Okay, so apparently I did not have this layer selected when I placed the rotation keyframes. So that means that it did not actually get any keyframes there. So to fix that, I could go ahead and manually place a keyframe if I wanted to, and then place another one. Or I could just copy these ones by selecting them, Command C, copy, select my G layer, Command V to paste. Okay, so of course make sure that you only select these two keyframes, that you don't actually select the position keyframes, or don't just select the layer because that'll paste the whole layer. Just select these two keyframes and then paste them on here. Okay, so we have our base animation that we're going to start with. In the next video, we're going to learn how to make this a lot smoother and cleaner and not look so cheap. So feel free to click the link in the description below to see that video.